On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
Sooner you take accountability and responsibility for everything in life, let alone your business, the sooner you will cross the mark of whatever it is you desire. It just takes time.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe. I'm your host, Gathering the Kings podcast. Today, I've got CW, Mr. Warrens. How are you?
I'm very good. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me here is how I should really say it.
No, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, dude. And but I don't want to interrupt you. Thank you. What's going on, man? How are you?
You know, it's incredible to be able to talk shop on a podcast with another guy who's had a podcast for a long time. And then in essence, I find myself doing the same thing when I'm on a show is you get in the lane of what we've always done.
Yeah.
So this time you get to sit back, you get to relax.
Cool.
So it's all good. You know, I want the listeners to know you got a lot going on. And so I want the listeners to kind of have a grip of what you're doing. First off, I want to say on your behalf, just in case maybe you don't say it, that you've served our country, and maybe you go into a little bit of detail there, but I just want to thank you for that publicly. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to my family. I take that stuff seriously. So thank you. And please take the stage. Let us know maybe what business or businesses that best define you as of now.
Yeah. You know, first things, thank you for thanking me for my service. It's still one of those compliments that I don't have a problem getting complimented. I used to be like, no, you can't compliment me when I was confused on how things worked. But it's still one of those compliments where it's a little uncomfortable because to me, I was just doing what I needed to do. You know, I was in high school when the towers came down, and it really compelled me. On top of that, I didn't want to go into student debt, and we couldn't afford to put me through college. So I was like, well, this is clearly the answer, going into the military. But before I get into me, I just want to thank everyone for basically tuning in and giving me the opportunity to explain my perspective on life and business. I'm just honored to be here, and I'm very thankful. So I want everybody to know that. And I want everyone to understand that if I can help one person today, I'm a happy man. And that's really what it comes down to. And as a teacher, that's really fundamentally what I am. I'm a teacher. That's my purpose in life, is to teach. I just enjoy teaching. So I'm excited to get interviewed, chop it up, deliver as much impact and value as possible. And the whole thing started when I was 19. I went into the military, and I ended up serving for the 101st Airborne, which is a division in the Army. I was a grunt. I was in the infantry and carried a 25-pound light machine gun. It's called a SAW, an M249. For anyone aware, it's quite a monster. It has a cyclic rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. So if you had an infinite amount of rounds and held the trigger down for a minute straight, assuming there was no jamming happening, which they jam, they would shoot 1,200 rounds in a minute. Nice. It's a monster. And I served 2 tours in Iraq. The first tour, I was wounded in combat. I received a Purple Heart. And the second tour, I was not wounded in combat, and I came home. So that's the military explanation. I'm excited to be able to provide value to veterans now getting out of the military and transitioning into entrepreneurship. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So I'll let you kind of open it up and pitch me the
no. So I mean, obviously, just thank you for not only laying that foundation, but dude, just for the fact that veterans have an opportunity. I mean, there's lots of opportunities. But for guys like you to have gone through those situations, I have a very close friend of mine that had three tours, and it tells me stories of kicking in doors, man. So it's like it's a whole nother level. And so I not only appreciate what you've done, but then also what you're doing for guys that have followed or done similar that you have. I think it's just incredible. So from a business perspective, you've got a lot going on. You've got an umbrella company that owns all these other things, and you get your hand in a lot of projects. Mm-hmm. From a serial entrepreneur's perspective, before we get into some of the nitty gritty and maybe what your businesses are, I want to know what makes you tick. Like, why? Why do you have more than one business? Why are you doing a nonprofit and the military stuff and the, other businesses and consulting and watches? Like, what's in it for you? Like, what's the bigger picture?
It's a good question, and it's twofold. Okay, so there's two pieces to this. Piece one, I grew up poor, and I watched my mother struggle with 4 jobs weekly.
Wow.
9 to 5 and 6 to 12 Monday through Friday. So she only came home to sleep. And then on the weekend, she had 2 jobs. My goal was to retire her. And the second fold is my purpose as a teacher. My purpose in life. If anyone's familiar with Napoleon Hill listening, which if you're a business owner, you should be familiar with Napoleon Hill. He's arguably the OG of mentors and business consultants with a law of attraction approach. And he goes deep into this topic. And interestingly, on my second book, which will be out one of these days, I go very deep into purpose as well. But purpose is our why, right? The key word these days is your why, or key phrase is your why. Well, 100 years ago, give or take, a decade, Napoleon Hill was writing about it in the form of purpose. So I believe in purpose. Yeah. And long story short, I've convinced myself of what my purpose is.
Yeah.
Which is to teach. And I'm at the stage in my career where I fucking jump out of bed, man. Every morning, Monday through Monday, 5 a.m. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's time to go. No day is different. Sunday is the same as Wednesday.
Yep.
Same morning routine, same walking of the dog, same working with the family, same gym.
Yeah.
I'm in the gym at the same time. Yeah. I'm at work at the same time. Doesn't matter if it's Sunday or it's Wednesday. And sometimes on the weekends, I have a lighter load. Sure. So if I want to sit on the couch or, enjoy myself and do whatever.
Yeah.
That's the little bit of a difference. But the point is, I'm driven by purpose to deliver my philosophies, my view on the world, my philosophy, impact, influence, and hopefully value.
Yeah.
So that's the 2-part answer to your question. Did I answer your question?
I love it, man. I think that you and I have a very similar piece on that first piece, just because of, single mom family in my scenario and working 3 jobs constantly, still to this day, just the hardest worker that I know.
Right.
And so I just appreciate that.
Moms are tough, right?
Bro.
Way tougher than dudes.
I don't know how.
No.
I have kids. I have 4 kids now. I'm married. Yeah. We do the thing together. I have no idea how she did it. I have no conceptual understanding of how she pulled it all off. I just don't know.
Right.
So the only thing I've delineated it down to is thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
There's a huge disconnect, right? Because, and I say this as hopefully professional as possible, but babies came out of women.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yes.
Right. That's the disconnect. Like, we'll never understand that. Like, no matter how much we try to conceptualize it, we'll never understand what it means, right? Or how it feels. So I think that's the difference. Yeah. Moms are like, these came out of me. I will do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's another level, man. I mean, you're talking about Napoleon Hill, definiteness of purpose. As an entrepreneur, we know these things. And obviously, as you said, generally speaking, we're wired different. I mean, biologically speaking, that's how it works. But you're right, man. You cannot go past the things that I see my wife do. Now we've got a 4-month-old, bro. The last 4 months, and it's our 4th.
So she's not sleeping.
No,
right?
No chance, no chance at all. And it's just one of those things. You don't really talk about it. You just do it.
Get it done.
Get it done. All right. So let's get into practically here. I want to know real quick here, actually 30 seconds. Tell me, you said you got kind of a couple of main companies. You got a lot going on, but give the audience just a quick snippet of, from a business perspective, what industries are you in? What kind of deals are you doing? That type of a thing.
Yeah, the primary industry that I'm in is I'm a full-time independent watch dealer. So I'm not associated with Rolex, or I'm not associated with Breitling, or not associated with Audemars Piguet. However, there's many of us that are independent, and I deal everything. Audemars Piguets, Rolex. I mean, Rolex is like Skittles. Breitling, Omega, everybody wants a Rolex, right? It's like the pinnacle of like, I've achieved some success. Like I want a Rolex, and trust me, I was there, but it keeps going. There's Audemars, there's Philippe Patek, there's Richie Millet, there's so on and so forth. So I'm in the watch industry, super heavy, super heavy. And it's fun. But that's my primary vertical, right? That's the primary vertical when it comes to business. In addition to that, I'm in the education space. I have e-courses. I have a published book. I have another one on the way. I teach a mastermind. I have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel. So the personal brand kind of intertwines into the education space, the social medias. But I teach, and I primarily teach entrepreneurs. I primarily teach mindset. And my strong suits that I really enjoy teaching is purpose, mindset in a macro perspective. Leadership is huge for me. And I like teaching males. I like to advocate for masculinity. And, in a time where it's shunned, I'm basically like, yeah, right. I'm going to teach the truth. But the point that I'm getting at is education. And then I'm also in real estate, fitness, and I'm recently getting into a nonprofit. And I think the right way of saying it is medical.
Okay. All right. A lot going on there. So from a practical standpoint, breaking this down for the listener a little bit, I want to know of, maybe you use one of these scenarios as an example, or maybe you've got maybe a higher level perspective of building multiple companies, but it was a good decision that you made that the listener can take away right now and think, okay, maybe it was early on, because remember, they're 6-figure business owner. They're trying to put the pieces together. They're likely doing too much themselves. I'm sure you remember these days. Mm-hmm. What was something that you did back then that they can walk away with here today?
The asking in the sense of what made the change.
Yeah, just when you look back and you think, this one thing that I did, I would do it over and over and over again. It was that impactful.
Yeah, I would start taking responsibility for everything in my life again, and earlier, much earlier. Yeah. I know that, like, that sounds so basic, right? But at the same time, it's high level. Yes. It's so high level. But here's the thing. All the high level stuff is all the basic fundamental stuff. It's just executed at a high level consistently. That's right? The word. Consistency. Yeah. People think there's like this sauce to making money and like building businesses. The sauce is just showing up on a daily basis and making all the mistakes, taking responsibility for the mistakes, hopefully having some sort of process on how to not make those mistakes. If you're interested in my philosophy on it, it's owning the mistake, which is what we're talking about, learning from the mistake. And then the piece where most people really screw up is the action plan. Yeah. How am I not going to make this mistake again? Because mistakes are good. Mistakes are lessons. Mistakes are lessons. And if you want to know the extent of how I teach that, my book, Dominate Your Day, A High Performer's Guide to Winning at Life, is free on YouTube. Go on my YouTube channel, listen to it. I mean, you can order copies too. I did the Audible. There's I did the Audible, the Kindle, it's a hardback, whatever, hard copy.
All the options.
All of the options, right? It's actually a pain in the ass doing the audio version. But
really interesting.
Yeah, I got a migraine 30 minutes in every day when I did it. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Like a focused thing.
Yeah, I don't want to digress off the answer or off the question though, right? So look at that. I'm reeling myself in. And but that's what I would do. That's what I would just own my shit. I hope we're allowed to cuss here.
It's all. I think that every listener is going, okay, all right, yep. Like they're starting to get a little fired up on the other end. I can hear it. I can feel it myself. As soon as you start saying these things, like it's like yes. You're right that it's execution and consistency, but for the actual owning piece, because your actual answer originally was the owning piece. What does that look like for, let's say, a 2-shop garage door company? What does that
Sure.
look like for a guy who, he started a marketing agency and he's got a couple clients, right? Like he's hearing you say, own it, like take responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a perfect example. You ready? It's a perfect example. It's a conversation I had with one of my VIP clients yesterday. Guy pays me approximately $1,500 an hour to coach him. Okay. He says to me, Chris, we're on a coaching call. He says, Chris, I need to ask you a question. And I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, hey, the recordings from our calls, I'm not receiving them. Can you have your team send them to me? It comes with my coaching. Like, record me, please record me and rewatch it. Right.
Right.
I was like, you know what? You're right. Right. This is the owning. My mistake. That's my fault. Let's back up. Do I do the actual sending of the videos to the client? No, absolutely not. However, it's my company.
Yeah.
Which means it's my responsibility, which means I take responsibility for the mistake.
Right.
Own the mistake there in the moment. You know what? You're right. That's my mistake. I didn't have the proper systems and or processes in place. I will get this done for you immediately. Right. And he's like, I'm not upset. I just wanted you to know. I'm like, no, you're right. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I appreciate you holding me accountable. You're my student. You're holding me accountable, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to, poke a hole in my game.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
It's not, so-and-so on the team isn't doing their job, man, I need to fire them. Like if you say that and you're a business owner, you're out of business. You just don't know it yet. Exactly. All right. You never, ever throw your team under the bus, and every shortcoming in your business is your responsibility. Is it your fault? Arguably. Is it your responsibility? 100%.
Yeah.
And the sooner you take accountability and responsibility for everything in life, let alone your business, the sooner you will cross the mark of whatever it is you desire. It just takes time.
Yeah. This makes me think of another concept. I want to throw it at you just so we can go back and forth here for a second.
Hit me.
There's this concept of agreement, right? Where even though I may not maybe I don't fully understand or agree with whatever it is that you're saying quite yet, but I can come into an agreement with you to understand. So like the responsibility thing that you were just talking about, it's like, maybe I don't know what happened. I don't know whose fault it was or whose wasn't. Whatever it was, I'm just going to own it. It's just me right here. I'm going to eat the whole elephant right now. And so there's this similar mindset of where even though I don't know what happened, or I don't maybe understand your point quite yet, but there's this ability that I have to bridge the gap or own it in this case, where I can come to an agreement with you in order to figure out how to understand. So I can disagree with what you're saying, but I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you
and
say
you know what?
Different? You have any thoughts on that?
You know what? I agree. Listen, I think communication really is this big piece to the pie that a lot of people unknowingly struggle at. And what I find, and it doesn't mean that it's the end all be all, but what I find is people say the same thing differently.
That's right.
They're saying the same thing, just differently, but not understanding each other is typically what's happening, right?
That's right.
Happened to me yesterday. I was like, hey, I think we're saying the same thing here. So let me repeat this back to you. You're saying this. I'm saying this. They're very similar, just being stated differently. And we weren't understanding each other. And I think that's the answer to your question in my perspective. Yeah, it's very possible, but it's also quite normal to be saying the same thing just differently, because this is what it comes down to, okay? You have to shop whoever you're talking to, in the sense of someone's perspective is based off their frequency, is based off their emotional intelligence that they've developed. Emotional intelligence is communication within ourselves. Right. So if you have someone up here, when it comes to their ability to be enlightened, their ability to understand their emotion, their perspective is relatively advanced, right? If someone's speaking here and they don't even understand themselves, let alone their emotions, of course, there's going to be a disconnect from this person.
Totally.
And when you have that ability to be so aware in life, you have to bring yourself in and be like, I see it from this person's perspective. I could see how they see that.
Yep.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So let me come down to their level for a moment and almost mirror what they're saying, repeat it back to them, and let's talk on that level. If you have the ability to do that, which is quite difficult.
Yeah. Everything that you just described.
If you don't know.
100%. Yeah. And I think it's leadership, it's communication, all these things that you kind of already said that are important. Mm-hmm. The mindset of owning is obviously where this stemmed from. And if you don't, in that scenario that you just gave, if you're the higher EQ individual talking to the lower EQ individual, it's the ownership of, this is where I'm at, this is where they are, and I'm going to own the situation, and I'm going to come down. I'm going to take responsibility for this communication.
It's selfless.
Yeah, you got it. It's up to you. That's what responsibility is, right?
Well said.
It's like we heard that in a book or something, like, pretty basic concepts.
And that's the thing, right? That's what I was saying. All the basic concepts are the high level concepts just executed daily. Yeah. Right. It's keeping these things at the forefront of your thinking and looking for opportunities to improve your understanding on it and looking for opportunities to execute it. Yeah. Right. So for instance, one of my big things is patience. I'm patient, but I'm not the most patient person. And I know that it is an opportunity for me to improve on. So every time I'm presented with a conversation, it's at the forefront of my thinking. I'm like, all right, okay, Chris, let's execute some aggressive patience here. I know what this person is saying. Yep. I hear them. I know what they're going to say before they even say it.
You don't need to cut them off.
99% of the time, I know what someone's going to say before they say it.
Yep.
Right. But how does that affect me? Minimally, but it allows the other person to feel heard.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to be patient and we need to hear them. We need to repeat it back to them, make sure they understand, I understand.
Yep.
And that is at the forefront of my thinking. So it never ends.
Never.
The growth game, the personal development game, it's just understanding where your holes are. The basic fundamental concepts are the same high level concepts, or said differently, high level people use basic concepts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a clear understanding, because here's what we have, especially I would say in the last 10 years, there's this, internet guru phase that we're in, and there's not really a secret, to your point earlier.
No,
there's not a secret sauce.
Secret.
Now, there are things tactically that you and I have done in business that maybe have allowed, marketing and sales and client fulfillment and finance to work in our favor. But mindset wise, it's like, no, it's just the basic stuff done every day, consistently over a long period of time. And it's just really, really encouraging. At least I hope the listener feels encouraged to hear that, because from my own perspective as well, that's the exact same thing. It's like, I even tell myself now, even look back the last 10 years, all you did was this every single day. Just keep doing the basics every single day. I want to flip the coin here. I want to talk about maybe a bad choice that you've made. You gave us quite a bit. We went a lot of different rabbit trails on the good choice. Something that you did that was just maybe kind of practical inside the business. You can warn us from, keep us away from making the same mistake.
I'm going to answer that. Can I reinforce what you're saying for a second?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I want to put this on display for the listeners. Okay. Just before I got on this call, I'm texting with my buddy. He's 28 years old. He makes like $4 million a year net. Okay. My workout partner is a 7-figure earner net. The people that I hang around are 7- and 8-figure net earners. Net, not gross, net.
Right.
There's a huge difference. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We don't talk about fancy shit. We talk about the basics. We talk about the basic concepts, just how we go about doing them.
Yeah.
So it's, and these are just 7 and 8 net figure earners. When I say just, I've been around 9. My buddy's a 10-figure, or he's worth 10 figures. If anyone's not familiar with what 10 means, that's billions. Okay. The people that I learned business from own billion-dollar corporations. Okay. We don't talk about fancy shit. I talk about the same basic mundane crap, just from our perspective.
Yeah.
My perspective is I'm going into year 15. I made all the dumb mistakes, which we're about to talk about. I should also plug in my computer.
Don't die on us.
Don't die. And listen, this is the stuff, right? Like, it doesn't matter how experienced you are. Like, stuff happens. And I should have been more prepared, and I wasn't. But this is a perfect example of being vulnerable, right? And I love to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, it makes it real. And I love how the point that you're hitting all the way home here of that even at a level of 7, 8, 9, $1 billion, that it's about the basics. And I think that even for myself, maybe you can speak to this before we move on briefly for you as well. But as I started getting to higher levels and joining groups and masterminds, of course, you have one, I have one now, but it's like, it was like I was looking for that thing. And I still think there's a reason to look for that thing, because there's that one connection, or that 100%. The unknown is worth doing all of those things. Yeah. But perspective has changed. It's not, I don't think there's a magic thing. I just need to, now I'm just doing the basics. The basics is I'm networking, I'm connecting, I'm pouring into others, I'm building a brand, I'm adding value wherever I go. Like, that's just the basics. And that just happens to me. I'm putting myself in rooms or on a podcast with guys like you, where who knows what happens. And out of that, it looks like, oh, okay, well, there was a secret sauce or something that you picked up. Maybe it was a nugget. Yeah, but really I was just doing the basics of the work of having a podcast or going to a meeting or meeting somebody at a conference or whatever the thoughts were. Do you want to add, kind of nail this all the way in?
No one listened to my podcast for the first 3 to 4 years. I had maybe 50 listeners, and it would grow slightly. Moving into year 6, it's vastly larger. Like,
right.
It's mastering the inefficiencies.
Yeah.
It's constantly doing the mundane, basic, inefficient shit that you don't want to do. Yeah. I still personally, as the owner with a team, and a good team and a large team, sign my own thank you cards for my clients.
Yeah.
Right. You make a purchase with us. Doesn't matter what the purchase is. Could be $100,000. It could be my book for $20. You get a hand signed thank you card, and I still do it. Not all the time, but I still do it. I'm not too good to do it. Trash needs to go out. I do it. Recycling needs to go out. I do it. Shit needs to get cleaned up off the road. I'll do it. Mastering the mundane inefficiencies.
Yeah.
And being selfless enough to do them.
Yeah. That's the ticket right there. Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So mistakes. You want me to talk about mistakes?
I want you to get into the dirty.
Sure. You want what kind of mistake you want? You want something to advance my career faster, or like a big financial mistake? Like,
imagine yourself $3 million revenue. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're 600,000-700,000 in revenue. You got a little team. Yeah. And then this thing happens, and it could have taken you all the way out, but it didn't. Yeah. And you're trying to keep us from it.
Yeah. I think the answer simply is understanding yourself as a business owner, right? Understanding who you are.
Okay.
Right. The quicker that you do that.
Sure.
It's there's no wrong way of doing it other than not doing it. You as the business owner are your own bottleneck. You are the problem. You are the issue.
Yeah.
Your growth is dependent on your growth.
Okay.
Understanding yourself and who you are, your shortcomings, and like I was talking about, patience, your strong suits. And here's the thing, most people hire around their shortcomings, right? Well, guess what? What happens if you're not around and all those strong suits need to be filled in? It never ends. Right. But the point that I'm getting at is understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And if there's one action that I would have done sooner, or I could have done sooner to bridge that gap between maybe 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 figures,
right,
it would have been that with the help of a coach, with the help of a mentor, with the help of a mastermind. And in addition to all of that, learn to network and learn how to network.
Yeah.
Networking is giving. Like, I've already thought about the people I'm going to send to you for your show.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
How can I help you?
Yep.
Right. You need guests. Perfect. Let me help you.
Yep.
And that's a tri-folded answer, right? But what it comes down to is A coach, a mentor, a mastermind is going to help you understand yourself quicker. Could you do it in books? Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yep.
Someone looking in from the outside, though, is going to advance you rapidly. And this isn't a shameless plug for me. Pick who you would trade lives with. Yeah, exactly. If you would trade lives with that person, okay, that's a good start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't, and listen, sometimes good mentors and coaches don't charge money. They're your uncle who is successful and, wants to be able to give back and teach you you. So, yeah. But then again, when you invest in yourself, like I annually invest north of 6 figures into myself a year. Yeah. And I would like to get to 7 figures, right? And the rooms that I'm in and the people that I'm around and that I learn from and network with only continues to get better the more and more that I invest. Yeah. And, for instance, tomorrow I leave for a speaker's school, a professional school for speaking.
Yeah.
So everybody in that room is either learning how to speak, is a speaker, or wants to be better at speaking. Right. I'm going to be in the room with like-minded people. I don't know if they're going to be successful. It doesn't matter to me, because if they're not, I'm happy to help them. If they are, we're happy to network, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the week after, I'll be in Nashville at a conference with 7, 8, and 9-figure net earners. Yeah. And then the week after that, I'll be in Chicago at another conference. So the point is, learn yourself.
Yep.
Invest in yourself. Understand yourself. And if you want to move along faster, if you're like, man, I haven't hit the 7-figure mark, what the hell? Hire someone to teach you who you are.
Yeah. No, it's so good. I'll reiterate that just for myself, even in my own journey. It was sales before business, and as a sales professional, and eventually one who taught sales and built sales teams. If you don't understand you or the way that you communicate, and then have an ability to understand the other person, nothing happens, and you just frustration over and over. And so that just gets exaggerated even further in business, because you're not just wearing the sales hat, you're wearing all the hats, which all those hats are associated to some degree to you and the way that you communicate. And so everything that you're talking about, it's the limiting bottleneck. If you don't know you, or the ability to be coachable, just to say, I wonder how I do this or how I should change it. Maybe I should get a coach or join a group or go to a conference, whatever those things are. There's a level of humility, or probably how it starts as a frustration around like, I'm not 7 figures yet, or whatever the moment is.
It's typically ego.
Oh, it's all ego.
Having an ego is good. Understanding the ego is key. You got to have some ego.
Yeah.
But when you let ego control you, that's why you're not hitting the marks.
Yeah. What does that look like practically? Like that you've seen maybe in the military, or even just in your business coaching? Like, I think, like, what is that? How have you seen it manifest in people's lives?
I mean, I could talk about me and then clients, right? Like when I first went into business at 24, when I got out of the Army, I had the ego the size of a tractor trailer. I had just come out of war twice. I was playing God. I chose if you stayed on this earth or not.
Yeah.
That's not the case when you're going to community college and you're trying to build a business and you're in a recession. This is 2008, right? I got out into 2008 and got started in business as a personal trainer. But, my ego was I couldn't accept help. I couldn't ask for help, let alone accept it. I knew everything. I was better than everybody.
Right.
Guess what? I was broke.
Yeah.
I was super broke. I was broke to the point that there were some times that I had no food. My truck was on empty. And I would be driving to the gym in hopes that my client was going to re-up in personal training. And there were times where they didn't. And I had to learn some humility and find someone to loan me $20 to put some gas in my truck and buy some ramen, maybe some rice, and feed myself and my dog at that time, because I didn't even have dog food. Yeah. So, ego, understanding your ego is vitally important. and it will keep you from the marks that you're looking for, especially if they're eluding you for long periods of time. You got to look in the mirror. Yeah. All of these topics I teach, not only in groups and one-on-one, but so if you're interested in a literary form or audio form, but in the second part of that question was with clients, right? Yeah. Can you just reframe it for me so I understand?
Yeah. What have you seen? I mean, obviously you're dealing with some pretty high level business owners. And so maybe the person listening today isn't a 7-figure earner, but how even at that level have you seen them let their ego keep them, just like you were just describing in your own journey there?
Sure. This was a wildly liked post I put on my personal Facebook page last week, which is an easy way to recognize new money is they're always talking about it. So listen, there's going to come a point where you're making money, all right? And your ego is going to dictate how you conduct yourself. And I personally get turned off by people that are boastful about new money specifically. The wealthiest people I know, and I'm talking billionaires, they don't talk about their money. Yeah. The conversation that I had with a billionaire a few weeks ago, I think it was about a month ago, we were meeting for coffee. I'm his watch guy. He needs his watches done, right? And he looks at me. This is the day that the stock market went down 1,200 points. He goes, Chris, you know how much money I lost this morning? It was 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, what'd you lose? He goes, 13 million.
Wow.
I was like, this morning? I was like, this morning. Jesus Christ. Yeah. But they don't boast. They don't care.
Just another zero, really.
It's just a zero and a comma is really what it is, right? Like the difference between 6 and 7 figures is a zero.
Yeah.
Like think about it. It's a zero and a comma. So I think that it's a big hindrance when someone starts. First things first, you can make $1 million in your business being good at one thing: sales, marketing, garage doors, right? But when you get there, maybe your profit margin's like 25% or something like that. You're making $250,000 a year. Like that's good. However, that's not enough to run around and, talk down to people. Yeah. Because there's always bigger sharks. And most of the sharks aren't loud because we don't need to be.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the richest and wealthiest people I know financially are the most humble people. Yeah. I had dinner at a friend of mine's house in his $40 million garage. His car collection was $40 million. We were having dinner in his garage. Yeah. He doesn't have to say anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everywhere you look, it's a flex. I mean, Ferrari, P1 Senna McLaren, GT500 from 1967, like a row of Porsches, a row of Ferraris, a row of Lamborghinis. I mean, just
take your pick.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to say anything. And I think money accentuates ego in this case for business owners. And I think that would be the answer to the question, in my opinion. Did I explain it well enough?
No, you did a great job. Thank you for that. I had a guy, it was actually one of my first podcast guests. I didn't know him, but I knew him through a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine is very successful. And this other guy is too. But he didn't know me. And I don't know what kind of research he did, but he thought I was just an online sales guy. I don't know what he thought,
Yeah, you're just a podcaster or something.
Yeah. You could tell immediately that it was he had positioned it like this. Yeah, and I just don't care. Like you think what you want, bro. Think what you want. I don't really care. Mm-hmm. You don't come with me to the bank. You don't come with me, downstairs when we do the family stuff. Like it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But through conversation, naturally, talking about number of employees, talking about different struggles or wins in business, he started putting some pieces together and going, how old did you say you were again? And you just kind of smirk and you go, yeah, it's no big deal, man. And you just let them come to their own conclusion that crap, I put my foot in my mouth, and it's okay. It's no big deal. Even in that moment, I didn't want to prove him wrong or anything. I just what unto what?
But there's nothing to prove.
Yeah.
I had someone on my show recently that spoke to my mastermind. He boasts he's a 7-figure net earner, spoke to my 8-figure annual for his business, spoke to my mastermind, spoke on my podcast. I sent him and his family a package for coming on, for speaking at my mastermind, thank you cards.
Yeah.
Then he finally comes on my podcast and I was like, hey, did the shirts fit? Oh, I completely forgot about them. This, that, everything else. Starts talking about his money and whatnot. And I asked him, when the show was coming out, I was like, hey, did you get to listen to it? So on and so forth. And he's like, no, I'm really busy. I have like 19 meetings this week and I'm going on Dave Metzler's show and of TV show. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I hope you get to listen to the show and, let your audience know about it too. Yeah. And he didn't at all. Didn't even comment on it, but went on Dave Metzler's TV show and pumped that. Right.
Sure.
And the irony is it's the least listened to show and viewed show that I've had in the past, I don't know, year, maybe two.
Yeah.
And on the show, I was explaining to him the efficiency of having both a personal and executive assistant.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll send you over my job listings. I have two. I have them both, and they're fantastic. And I've had several of them. And he's like, both? And I'm like, there's a difference between your dry cleaning and changing your oil. That's personal. And your emails, which is executive. Yeah. And he's like, oh. I'm like, yeah. Hi. So the point is, right? The ego, when you allow it to control you, it's going to give you a glass ceiling, whether it's 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures. Yeah. We're moving into 11, 12, and 13 figure businesses, and like, it's all possible.
Stop? Yeah. Don't let the ego get in the way.
Think about it. Like, Amazon's a $500 billion company at this very moment. In our lifetime, they'll be $1 trillion company, most likely in the next 5 years. Yeah. So it's here. The trillions are here.
Yeah, 100%. And such a small thing to keep people back. And I would say dialing this all the way back down to the guy that's just like, dude, I just want to not have to go to the job site every single day. I want to have a business, not own my job. I still think to this point, ego is probably one of the biggest things keeping that person on the job site.
Yeah.
So let's turn the corner here. My speed round's usually kind of wrapped up into a few things, but I want to throw one major last question at you because we've gone in so many different thick, juicy directions. I want to know if C-Dub, we have the same initials, C-Dub. If C-W on your side, if you could whisper in the younger Chris's ear, what would you say?
Yeah, everything's going to be okay, man. And enjoy the ride. I probably didn't enjoy the first decade. I was just chasing money. I made good money. I made $10 million before year 10 in business, selling gym memberships as a gym owner at $25 a membership. It's a lot of memberships. Yeah.
I equate that to edible arrangements baskets. I've sold a lot of those, man.
Yeah. Exactly. But you gotta fall in love. You gotta fall in love with it. And I work incredibly hard. My team is, I'm almost tearing up right now. I'm just grateful. And the shift is purpose. The shift is love. The shift is empathy. The shift is impact. The shift is influence. The shift is pouring into people and watching them succeed. Whether it's a client scaling past the 7-figure mark. I got a 26-year-old in year 1 who's going to hit 7 figures this year. And I'm like, yes, dude, you're 26.
Seriously.
Or, someone on the team buying a house, like
big deal.
Yes. You know what I mean? And you're probably familiar with this. There comes a point, right, when you embrace all that. It's not about you. It has nothing to do with you as the business owner. Nothing. You're just the leader. Yeah. And you start doing it for your people.
Yeah, it's an honor at that point.
Two people on my team want to buy houses this year. They're going to buy houses.
I was going to say, it's done deal.
It's going to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it goes beyond that, right? It goes beyond that. They're milestones is what it comes down to. And if you can fall in love with the process, everything that you desire will come. The key is to fall in love and believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. If think about Michael Jordan, think about Muhammad Ali. I'm competitive, right? So I'm going to use athletes. Wayne Gretzky, Mike Tyson, they thought they were the best well before they were the best. You have to convince yourself. You have to reprogram your subconscious. I'm the best.
Yeah.
I am the best. I am the best. I am a multi-billionaire. Yeah. I mean, we'll get there, 100%. But you convince yourself that it's happening.
Yep.
That it's happened. And in a very roundabout way, the answer to your question is that it's good. It's that, man.
It's deep. I appreciate your perspective, your philosophy, as you say. I just think it's so rich with history and actual knowledge. Even though, it's funny, a lot of guys, even myself, I'm used to just getting into the weeds, just tactically. Let's just build, and there's a level to that, obviously, that we have to do, building teams, people, businesses, sales. But when you have time to talk on this level, especially with guys that are at your level and above, which, to your point, getting a coach, joining a group, whatever it is, going to conferences, it just stretches you, man. You can think in a different way. And so that way, when you come back to do the mundane, not only do you have the energy and the fortitude to do it, the consistency piece, but now you think differently. You are different. So I just appreciate you delivering that to us here today, man. I'm different for being able to chat with you today. The listeners are different. How can they find you? Whether they want to buy a watch for $100K or they want to get some warrior coaching. How can they connect?
Oh man, guys, first things first, just again, thank you for giving your time and listening to what I have to say. It's a feeling of gratitude that pours over me to have these types of opportunities and speak to people that I've never met and hopefully make a difference in one person's life. So, if you want to follow me and or connect with me, I'm pretty active. Like, if you email me, you will hear back from my team and or me. If you DM me, you'll likely hear back from me. It might not be that day, but I like to talk to people, like, even if it's just one interaction, right? It's like,
right.
Let's go. Let's fucking go, get after it. But the point is, my website's chriswarrens.com. That has everything that you can find that I'm on, but I'm Christopher Warrens on Facebook, Chris Warrens on YouTube, Chris Warrens MBA on LinkedIn, and at Chris Warrens _OG on Instagram. My podcast is The CW Clinic on all of the major platforms. And I don't think I'm leaving anything out, but
that's good. We'll put it all in the show notes, of course.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Good SEO.
Right, exactly. We're trying to bring you some value here, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Again, you've been incredible. I can only look forward to what the relationship that has just been birthed, and so I look forward to.
We'll have to get you on my show.
Would love that, and to be able to go back and forth with you again. But just in all seriousness, you did a great job of thanking for the time and being appreciative of the audience. We are appreciative of you, and I don't just say that because I'm the host, but like today, I'm better because you're here. So thank you for that, and it's going to be a great rest of the week because we got you in our ear, and now I get to hit the repeat button. So
hell yeah,
I got on the recording.
And before I go, let me just tell you about you, man. All right, this is something that I think is very powerful for leaders, and it's telling people about themselves. You're a fantastic interviewer. You did an excellent job, and you stayed dialed in. Your attention to detail is fantastic. Very well done.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. I don't take that lightly at all. You've been incredible. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for listening to Gathering the Kings. We hope you got a ton of value today and learned a thing or two about taking your business to 7 figures and beyond. If you desire more and want a community around you to help you get there, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. That's gatheringthekings.com. And I want you to apply for our next Becoming a King 90-day intensive. We are extremely exclusive by nature as a group, What that means is that we're really wanting only the entrepreneurs who take their business and targets super serious to apply. So if that's you, you think you got what it takes to level up your business, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com and apply. And we will see you on the other side.